I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Oh my goodness.
This wasn't supposed to come out like this. No press release, no lawyer statement, no quiet family meeting behind closed doors. Instead, it exploded straight onto the internet like a grenade with the pin already pulled. Karlissa Saffold dropped DNA claims involving baby Junior. And before the dust even had time to settle, Blueface responded instantly, not calmly, not privately, but in full internet combat mode. And let's be clear, this isn't just family drama. This is legacy drama. This is lineage chaos. This is the kind of mess that makes celebrity divorces look like polite disagreements over brunch. Because once DNA gets mentioned publicly, there's no let's move on button. You either prove it, deny it, or spiral, and this situation sprinted straight into spiral territory. Fans froze, comment sections ignited, receipts were demanded like subpoenas, and suddenly everyone with Wi-Fi became a geneticist, a lawyer, and a family counselor all at once. Because when someone says DNA online, the internet doesn't wait for facts, it chooses sides. And the scariest part, the timing, the silence before the drop, the speed of Blueface's response. This didn't feel accidental. It felt like something that had been sitting in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to detonate. This didn't creep onto the internet quietly. It slammed into timelines like a dropped mic nobody asked for, but everyone immediately replayed. 1 minute, the Blueface universe was doing what it always does, simmering with background chaos. And the next minute, Karlissa allegedly leaked DNA claims involving baby Junior, detonating a conversation that should never have escaped. Private walls. And the moment those words hit the public space, everything shifted. Because gossip can be debated, insults can be ignored, subtweets can be brushed off, but DNA doesn't play. DNA isn't a vibe. DNA is the kind of allegation that doesn't just attack a person, it questions identity, lineage, and truth itself. Once that door opens, there's no closing it gently. Karlissa didn't ease into this. There was no cautious framing, no I'll speak when I'm ready build-up. The claim surfaced raw, abrupt, and loaded, instantly pulling baby Junior into a narrative that fans, critics, and strangers had no business dissecting. And the internet did exactly what it always does when boundaries collapse. It sprinted past them. At first, many assumed it was exaggeration, another headline stretched beyond context, another family disagreement amplified for clicks. But then screenshots started circulating. Old interviews got replayed. Past statements were dragged out like forensic evidence. Suddenly, timelines were being reconstructed by people who've never met anyone involved but felt fully qualified to judge them. The word receipts started trending before anyone could confirm if receipts even existed. Because in internet culture, claiming you have proof is sometimes enough to convince half the audience that the verdict is already in. And that's where the danger lives, because DNA claims aren't casual accusations. They're permanent stains, whether proven or not. What made this moment even more explosive was the target. This wasn't a rival. This wasn't an ex. This wasn't industry beef. This was family. And when family drama goes public, the internet doesn't treat it delicately, it treats it like a reality show cliffhanger. Then came the moment nobody expected. Blueface responded instantly. No pause, no carefully worded delay, no legal sounding statement crafted to cool the temperature. He came back fast, loud, and firm, like someone who had been expecting this moment and refused to let the narrative run without resistance. His response didn't just deny the claim, it challenged the entire framing of the situation. Speed matters online. Whoever speaks first controls perception, but whoever responds fastest can disrupt it. And Blueface's immediate reaction told fans one thing very clearly: this wasn't going to be ignored, buried, or handled quietly. The internet split in seconds. One side demanded proof immediately. arguing that DNA claims shouldn't exist publicly without documentation. They questioned motives, timing, and why something so sensitive would be aired online at all. The other side leaned into suspicion, convinced that nobody makes claims like this without reason. And then there were the people who didn't pick sides. They just asked the most uncomfortable question of all. Why involve a child? That's when the tone changed, because no matter how desensitized the internet gets, kids still trigger a moral pause. Baby Junior's name trending alongside DNA speculation made even the messiest gossip pages hesitate, at least for a moment. But hesitation doesn't last long online. The algorithm doesn't care about ethics. It cares about engagement. Suddenly, everyone became an expert. Amateur geneticists, armchair lawyers, family counselors with Wi-Fi, comment sections filled with wild theories, recycled statistics, and confident declarations from people who've never read a lab report in their lives. It became less about truth and more about dominance. Whose version of the story would win the day? What made this especially volatile was the history. The Blueface family dynamic has never been calm. Years of public tension, emotional interviews, and unresolved conflicts created fertile ground for a claim like this to explode. Nothing existed in isolation. Every past argument suddenly felt like foreshadowing. Every old clip became evidence depending on who was narrating it. Karlissa's alleged move was interpreted in multiple ways. Some saw it as desperation. Others framed it as long-buried frustration finally boiling over. A few insisted it was strategic, a pressure play designed to force a response. And if that was the goal, it worked immediately. Blueface's response didn't calm the situation. It escalated it. Because denial alone never satisfies the internet. It demands proof, performance, and emotion. And the faster the response, the more people analyze tone instead of substance. Was he angry, defensive, confident, calculated? The internet doesn't listen, it interprets. Meanwhile, Baby Junior was still at the center of a storm he never asked to be part of. And that's where the discomfort deepened. Because regardless of who's right or wrong, once a child's name is attached to public doubt, the damage doesn't wait for resolution. The saddest irony, everyone claimed to be searching for truth, but nobody slowed down long enough to protect it. This wasn't investigation, it was spectacle. And spectacle doesn't require facts to thrive. It only requires tension. By the time the dust began settling, one thing was undeniable. This wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was a fracture, a family crack exposed to millions, with no clean way to seal it back up. And as the internet continued, arguing, dissecting, and choosing sides, a far more dangerous reality crept in. Once the claim hit oxygen, the internet didn't just react, it organized. Timelines transformed into courtrooms with no judges, no rules, and millions of self-appointed experts banging gavels made of opinions. The word DNA flipped a switch, and suddenly every scroll felt like a verdict waiting to happen. The first wave was disbelief, but disbelief didn't last long. Screenshots started circulating like currency. Old interviews resurfaced with timestamps highlighted like crime scene tape. Clips were slowed down, zoomed in, reinterpreted, and recaptioned until context evaporated completely. The internet wasn't asking for facts anymore. It was assembling a story like .meme pages moved fastest. They always do, not because they're accurate, but because speed beats truth online. Jokes popped up comparing the situation to reality. TV finals, courtroom dramas, and paternity plot twists so dramatic they made soap operas look underwritten. Captions were savage. Thumbnails were ruthless. And each post pulled Baby Junior's name deeper into a mess he never signed up for. Celebrities didn't stay silent for long. Some chimed in with vague support statements that said everything and nothing at the same time. Others took the "I'm just praying for the child" route, the internet's favorite way to sound compassionate, while still picking a side. A few tossed subtle shade, pretending it was commentary on boundaries when it was really commentary on loyalty. And then there were the quiet ones, The people who knew everyone involved and said absolutely nothing. Silence like that doesn't calm chaos, it feeds speculation. Because when insiders go quiet, the internet assumes secrets are being protected. Blueface's response kept echoing through the discourse. Not because it resolved anything, but because of how fast it landed. Speed became the story. People dissected his tone like it was a voice stress analysis. Too quick meant defensive. Too firm meant rehearsed. Too calm meant calculated. The internet doesn't listen to words, it listens for vibes and then invents motives. Karlissa's alleged claims became the center of a tug-of-war. One side argued that family issues should never hit public platforms, especially when children are involved. The other side insisted that truth doesn't need privacy. A phrase that sounds noble until it's used to justify public damage. Both camps accused the other of manipulation, and neither waited for verification. The outraged crowd arrived right on schedule. Suddenly, everyone cared deeply about ethics. Comment sections filled with lectures about protecting children, family loyalty, and accountability. The irony was thick enough to trip over. The same feeds that thrive on viral breakdowns were now pretending to be moral guardians. Concern became content. Outrage became branding. Then came the amateur science hour. People started throwing around genetic percentages like confetti. Charts appeared. Explanations were copied and pasted from search engines without context. Confidence skyrocketed while accuracy quietly left the room. It didn't matter that DNA testing is complex and private. The internet prefers certainty. Even when it's wrong, pop culture comparisons exploded. People said this was more chaotic than celebrity divorces, messier than reality TV reunions, and more dramatic than courtroom shows with commercial breaks. Someone joked that it made royal family scandals look like polite disagreements, and buried under the jokes was a darker realization: this wasn't entertainment anymore. It was escalation. The pressure mounted on everyone involved. Fans demanded receipts like subpoenas. Show the proof became the loudest chant, as if sensitive. Documentation is supposed to be uploaded like a selfie. And the more proof was demanded, the clearer it became that nothing short of absolute confirmation would satisfy the crowd, and even that wouldn't stop the arguments. What made the situation spiral was the timing. Every response triggered another reaction. Every clarification created new questions. Every attempt to control the narrative only multiplied the angles. It became impossible to tell whether people wanted the truth or just wanted to win their side of the internet. Meanwhile, Baby Jr. remained the invisible center of gravity. Everyone claimed to be protecting him, but his name stayed in headlines, thumbnails, and captions. That contradiction didn't slow anyone down. Because online, concern is something you say, not something you practice. The platforms themselves poured fuel on the fire. Algorithms rewarded outrage. Clips with the harshest captions traveled the farthest. Calm explanations got buried. The louder the claim, the further it spread. And soon, the story wasn't about DNA anymore. It was about dominance. Who would control the narrative first? As days passed, the conversation hardened. Positions became identities. Changing your mind was treated like betrayal. The situation stopped being about facts and turned into a referendum on loyalty. And once loyalty gets involved, reason checks out early. By the end of it, the internet wasn't waiting for answers. It was waiting for the next escalation. Another post, another response, another receipt. The suspense became addictive. The outrage became routine. And the line between investigation and exploitation disappeared completely. And that's when the real damage set in. Because when a family dispute becomes a public spectacle, there's no clean ending. There's only fallout. Reputations bend. Relationships crack. And even when the noise fades, the screenshots don't. Once the noise began to fade, the damage didn't. That's the part nobody ever talks about. The internet loves explosions, but it rarely sticks around for the smoke. And after Karlissa's alleged DNA claims collided with Blueface's instant response, the fallout didn't arrive dramatically. It seeped in quietly, reshaping everything. It touched out the first casualty was trust, not just between the people involved, but between public perception and reality. Because once a family dispute reaches viral status, no version of the truth ever feels complete again. Every clarification sounds defensive, every denial feels strategic, and every silence gets interpreted as guilt by default. The internet doesn't believe in neutral outcomes. It believes in winners and losers, even when real life refuses to cooperate. Blueface's reputation entered a new phase, not destroyed, not redeemed, recalibrated. His fast response protected him from being silent. But it also locked him into the narrative permanently. From that moment on, every move he made was filtered through this controversy. Interviews felt heavier, statements felt scrutinized. Even unrelated moments were suddenly dragged back into the DNA debate like unfinished business that refused to stay buried. Karlissa faced her own reckoning. Alleged claims carry a weight that doesn't disappear once posted, whether motivated by frustration, emotion, or long-standing tension. The public framing changed how people interpreted her voice going forward. Supporters defended her right to speak, critics questioned the timing, and somewhere in between, the line between concern and confrontation blurred beyond recognition. The most uncomfortable shift happened within the family dynamic itself. When disputes go public, reconciliation becomes harder not because forgiveness is impossible, but because pride gets involved. Apologies don't trend. Private healing doesn't get clicks. And once millions of strangers have opinions on your family business, resolving it quietly feels like losing the narrative war. Fans didn't move on easily either. Sides hardened, comment sections became archives of screenshots, timestamps, and half-remembered details. Even as the story cooled, the debate stayed warm. People continued arguing long after the original posts stopped circulating because unresolved. Tension feeds speculation better than closure ever could. And then there was Baby Jr., the quiet center of gravity in all of this. The internet claimed to be protecting him, but protection doesn't look like headlines. It doesn't look like thumbnails. It doesn't look like strangers debating lineage like it's a sports stat. Once a child's name enters public doubt, the damage doesn't wait for truth to arrive. It lingers, regardless of outcome. The broader culture felt the ripple tube. Conversations about boundaries resurfaced, but only after the damage was done. People debated whether some things should stay private, a discussion that always comes late, never early. Because restraint isn't rewarded online, reaction is, and by the time reflection arrives, the algorithm has already moved on. Industry figures watch closely, not for answers, for risk assessment. Public family disputes don't scare executives because of morality. They scare them because unpredictability is expensive. And unpredictability multiplied when DNA claims entered the mix. Suddenly, everything felt heavier, more sensitive, less manageable. What made this saga linger wasn't confirmation or denial. It was uncertainty, the lack of clean resolution, the unanswered questions. The feeling that something deeply personal had been turned into public property without a clear path back. That discomfort stuck with people longer than the outrage ever did. As time passed, the conversation shifted from who's right to what's next. Would there be proof, retractions, legal moves, or would the story simply fade, leaving scars behind it? The internet waited, not patiently, but expectantly, always ready for the next update. And that's the cruelest part of viral family drama. Even when everyone wants peace, the audience wants continuation. Closure doesn't trend, escalation. And once a story reaches this level, silence doesn't feel like healing, it feels like suspense. This wasn't just a scandal, it was a reminder. A reminder that once private conflicts become public entertainment, nobody truly wins. Reputations bend, relationships strain, and the truth, whatever it may be, arrives bruised and late. The internet will eventually move on. It always does. But the people involved don't get that luxury. They carry the aftermath long after the comment sections quiet down. So now that the dust has settled and the screenshots are forever, let's keep it real. This wasn't just another internet argument. This was family business dragged into the spotlight, wrapped in speculation, and served to millions with a side of outrage. Karlissa's alleged DNA claims lit the fuse. Blueface's instant response poured gasoline on it, and the internet did what it always does best: turned it into entertainment. Now it's your turn. Don't sit there acting neutral like you don't have an opinion. Drop it in the comments. Was this ever supposed to be public? Or did things go too far the second DNA entered the chat? Who handled this right? And who made it worse? Say it with your chest. This comment section is where the real debate lives. And if you made it this far, smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit subscribe like you're tired of recycled takes and half-baked rumors. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next twist. Because let's be honest, these stories don't end when people log off. They evolve. This channel isn't here for polite summaries. We break down the mess, track the receipts, and call out the chaos when family drama turns into public warfare. And trust me, this situation isn't done. It's just quiet right now. And quiet online usually means something else is loading. So stay locked in right here with Celeb Sync, where the drama connects, the narratives collide, and the truth always shows up, even if it's messy.